In the beginning, a poor man screamed, begging for them to stop and explaining that he made a living with his blacksmithing skills and that taking that away from him would ruin him. However, before he could finish his sentence, Lloyd threw a bucket of water at him, telling him to shut up and declaring that the pathetic weakling would pay for making him angry. The scene then shifted to the party walking down the road. One of the members questioned why Lloyd was stealing a mere blacksmith skill, noting that such a worthless skill was entirely useless. Lloyd replied that as the leader of the A-rank party Dragon's King Flame, he was merely punishing a weakling who had refused to obey him, asserting that he would never let anyone defy him. He added that the day's quest had paid quite well, which would allow him to buy some new accessories. At this point, the members were introduced. Lloyd was the leader and the vanguard. Bard was the tank, and he remarked that he might go buy himself a woman. Emmy was the priest, and she mentioned that she might buy some more clothes. Reyna was the mage, and she expressed a desire to visit the spa and buy some cosmetics too. Finally, Kane was the rear support, who said nothing and remained silent. Lloyd then reminded the group not to expect much of a share this time either. This caused Kane to snap back, asking why that was the case and pointing out that it had been like that ever since he joined Dragon's King Flame, despite him taking part in the quests from the very beginning. In response, Lloyd smacked Kane, prompting Kane to ask what he was doing. Lloyd then threw down just 5 copper coins, stating that it was Kane's reward for the quest. Shocked, Kane questioned if 5 copper coins were truly all he was getting, adding that he believed the reward distribution was especially unfair this time. Lloyd reacted with disbelief, asking what Kane was talking about and questioning if he had even done anything during the quest that day. Kane defended himself, arguing that he had done his share of the work by carrying the luggage and using support magic to help everyone. Upon hearing this, the entire group suddenly burst out laughing. Lloyd grabbed Kane by his shirt and scoffed at the mention of support, accusing him of merely hiding behind them while casting his skills, and stating that they did not need his support at all. Another party member chimed in, reminding Kane that they were A-rank adventurers and that an F-rank adventurer's support skill was practically negligible. The member added that the only reason Kane could even take on quests was because of them, telling him to get that through his head. Kane hesitantly admitted that while that might be true, he still felt wronged. However, another party member cut him off, asking what he could possibly argue and questioning whether a support member who does nothing even had a reason to exist. Kane remained silent, prompting Lloyd to agree with Reyna, stating that he thought it was about time. Confused, Kane questioned what he meant. Lloyd then finished his drink, slammed it onto the table, and declared that although he had been letting things slide, he had finally reached his limit, asserting that the incompetent had no place in Dragon's King Flame. Desperate, Kane begged Lloyd to wait, pleading with him not to kick him out of the party. Lloyd bid him farewell, stating that from that day forward, Kane was officially exiled. However, Lloyd suddenly stopped mid-sentence in confusion. He wondered why the situation felt so familiar and what was causing that strange sensation. As his head began to ache, memories rushed back to him. He realized he had been an ordinary office worker in Japan, just a regular guy one could find anywhere. After working overnight at an exploitative company, he had gone drinking out of frustration and stopped by a convenience store to buy some snacks before passing away. It suddenly clicked that this world was actually the anime he had been obsessed with in his previous life, titled The Strongest Support Mage, They Won't Let Me Live a Slow Life. He recognized Kane as the protagonist of the series, an isekai anime famous for its exile and revenge storyline, filled with cute heroines. That very anime had been the only thing allowing him to endure his grueling corporate job. He also remembered that the story featured a villainous party leader who kicked Kane out, only to eventually get exactly what he deserved and end up killed by everyone as a truly pathetic loser. Horrified, Lloyd realized that he was that very person. While he felt he should be happy to be reincarnated into the world of his favorite anime, he lamented why, of all people, he had to be the one destined to be looked down upon. Looking at Kane, he confirmed it was indeed the real protagonist, looking exactly as he did in the show. Even so, Lloyd resolved that he would absolutely refuse to end up as just some ordinary loser. Reyna questioned what had gotten into Lloyd all of a sudden, pointing out that they were in the middle of something important. Lloyd appeared confused, asking what conversation they were even having. Reyna then held on to him and explained that since Kane was incompetent, they were currently in the middle of deciding his punishment. The other party members chimed in, urging Lloyd to take the opportunity to make a firm decision and deliver the verdict as their leader. Throughout this, Kane remained completely silent. As this happened, Lloyd realized that this was the exact exile scene from the anime. He recalled that Kane's support skill actually strengthened both the user and their allies, making it far more powerful than his own. He wondered why his character had been so afraid of it in the original story, concluding that Kane simply hadn't realized his true strength yet. He figured that Kane would manage just fine even if he were cast out. Snapping back to reality, Lloyd agreed that he should deliver the news. He declared that the incompetent had no place in the party, and therefore, he was expelling Kane. Hearing this, Kane fell to his knees in despair. However, Lloyd quickly began to reconsider the consequences. He realized that if he kicked Kane out, he would be doomed to defeat and death according to the original anime plot. Refusing to let himself head toward a death route, he concluded that to change his tragic future, he absolutely must not expel Kane. He decided on a different course of action entirely. Breaking the silence, Lloyd announced that, as of that day, he would be the one leaving the party instead. The declaration left everyone in utter shock. Raina stood up and screamed, demanding to know what kind of joke he was playing and stating it wasn't funny. Another party member echoed her confusion, questioning why Lloyd would be the one leaving. A third member pointed out that Lloyd was the backbone and leader of the party, insisting that he couldn't just walk away. Lloyd simply sighed in response. Raina screamed again, arguing that based on how things were supposed to go, they were meant to be kicking out the useless member. She asserted there was absolutely no reason for Lloyd to leave, as Kane was clearly the useless one no matter how anyone looked at it. Lloyd countered her, stating that she was wrong and asserting that Kane was actually an excellent backline support. Raina reacted with complete bewilderment, asking what he was even talking about. Privately, Lloyd thought to himself that simply refusing to expel Kane wouldn't be enough. He realized he needed the other members to fully understand Kane's worth, so the party could become a place where the protagonist felt comfortable. Stepping closer to Kane, Lloyd held him and loudly proclaimed that Kane was truly an amazing guy, adding that he himself was the useless one for failing to bring out Kane's full potential. He concluded by stating that was exactly why he would be the one leaving the party, as he needed to take responsibility as their leader. Everyone fell silent, staring at the two of them in disbelief. Lloyd broke the silence, explaining that Kane's support was no ordinary ability, but rather a unique and special skill that only Kane possessed. Raina conceded that while she had never seen anyone else use support magic, she questioned whether that automatically made it powerful. Lloyd firmly countered, asserting that it was indeed incredibly powerful, and revealed that the only reason they had been able to maintain their status as top-tier adventurers was entirely thanks to Kane's skill. Another party member scoffed, arguing that Lloyd was taking things a bit too far. In response, Lloyd challenged them to attempt an A-rank quest without Kane next time, promising they would quickly realize just how amazing the support mage truly was. The member asked if he was actually being serious, to which Lloyd confirmed that he was. Privately, Lloyd thought that once they experienced the difference for themselves, they would see Kane in a whole new light. He then decided it was time to move on to his next step. Turning back to Kane, Lloyd apologized for putting him through such a difficult time, acknowledging that an apology alone could not make up for it. He handed a massive portion of the quest money to Kane, stating that he hoped the gesture would ease his anger even a little. Kane was left completely bewildered, questioning what was happening. Raina screamed in protest, pointing out that the money was their quest reward and demanding to know why Lloyd was giving all of it away. Lloyd maintained that, considering how poorly they had treated Kane up until that point, this was the absolute least he could do. He then removed his own ring and handed it over as well, telling Kane to use it however he needed. Kane could only repeat the words in astonishment. Lloyd then bowed deeply to Kane, sincerely apologizing and admitting that the party had been in the wrong the entire time. Internally, Lloyd reflected that while this might not fully atone for his character's past actions, it was the most genuine offering he could provide. Bidding the group farewell, Lloyd told them to take care of themselves. One of the women begged him to wait, anxiously asking what would happen to the party if their leader left. Lloyd suggested that the leadership should be passed on to Kane. Kane immediately panicked, protesting that such a request was far too much responsibility. Lloyd reassured him that he would be completely fine, predicting that once the rest of the group attempted an A-rank quest without the support skill, they would soon be begging Kane to take charge. Although Kane still hesitated, another party member reluctantly conceded, stating that if Lloyd was going to insist so strongly, they would go ahead and attempt a quest. The member added that if the party still refused to recognize Kane as the leader after that, Lloyd would have to return to them. Lloyd agreed to the terms, giving his promise. As he walked away, Lloyd felt a sense of relief. He thought to himself that if he had remained the leader, he might have been dragged into committing evil acts just like in the original anime, even without intending to. By replacing himself with the kind-hearted protagonist, he believed everything would turn out perfectly. With that final move, he celebrated internally, confident that he had successfully avoided his own death route.